Wisconsin falls to Iowa. Guys, Wisconsin, they faced Ohio State and they got their nice little win there, but they're back to their losing ways. I know the Wisconsin fans are not happy. The Greg Gard firings have started, and it's not been pretty. Wisconsin could find themselves out of the top 25 here soon if they're not careful. That win over Ohio State's not really going to save them. I guess it might now since Ohio State beat Purdue, but that was also when Ohio State had Chris Holtmann, so different team the way they've been playing, I suppose. But Brant, I'm curious, what were your thoughts here with Wisconsin falling at Iowa on Saturday?
Yeah, man, that was a heck of a game. That was probably my game of the weekend, and that's really is saying something with the way that the Ohio State game unfolded today. But we had a little overtime game here. Owen Freeman is going to be a superstar for Iowa, and that's what they need because without the Murray brothers, they just don't have the star power. But give Owen Freeman another season or 2 seasons. He really reminds me of Luka Garza for them a few years ago. I think he could follow that kind of trajectory. And Brock Harding looked insane for them too. I know he's just a freshman, but he didn't play too many minutes, but when he was out there, he was dispersing the ball and knocking shots down. He can be a big piece for them going forward as well. On the Wisconsin side of things, disappointing for them. Their fans are not happy right now the way things are going, and not really too much else to say other than just what happened.
Dave, why do the Badgers suck right now? Oh wait, I'm a Gophers fan. I don't give a Oh, that's why I love college basketball and football. The rivalries make it so great. Ken, what were your thoughts?
I didn't get to watch all of this game. As I said, I'm at the lake right now in the mountains, and I just thought that Wisconsin had control of this game in the first half. I go outside for a little bit, come back, and then all of a sudden it's a game. My boy Tony Parker's going off, of course. Or I'm sorry, Tony Perkins. I said Tony Parker. Sorry. Tony Parker used to play basketball as well. Tony Perkins, game winner. Like, those two things go together like peanut butter and jelly. I knew he was going to be the guy to get it done at the end. When it was a close game in overtime, I was like, just give it to TP. He'll finish it off for you guys. So I was happy for Perkins. I was happy for my guy. But yeah, Wisconsin, man, I don't know. Iowa actually used to be the team that I was like, I can't figure this team out. Now, with the big swing back, it's like, I don't know if Wisconsin I can figure out. They were so good. I was defending them as someone that could outright win the Big Ten like a month ago. And now they're going to be like not even going to get a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. So I don't know what's going on. I really can't figure it out. I don't know if they're just missing shots, if they've been scouted too well on the second half of the Big Ten season here. I don't really know what's going on. I can't put my finger on it, but they have got to figure it out because they're a team that is going to be in the tournament. And if they play anybody that has a pulse, it seems like at this point they're going to be out the first game. So I think that they really need to figure it out. That's really all I can say about Wisconsin. And like I said, happy for my boy Tony Perkins, of course. Not Tony Parker, Tony Perkins.
In my opinion,
I'm happy for Tony Parker too, by the way. He's living a pretty good life, I feel like.
Oh, he's got to be. For Wisconsin, though, if there's one player I could put my finger on that's kind of an X factor for this team, and at least was an X factor during their run when they were winning games, and is like, I guess we could call him the X factor because he's not playing well right now, and they're losing games because of it. Max Klesmit is my pick. I mean, the dude was unconscious when they were actually winning games. He was dropping like 20 points a game, just not missing shots. And then he came back down to the Max Klesmit we saw last season when Wisconsin didn't make the tournament and they were in the NIT, where he's chucking shots up and nothing's falling. And that's been happening to him recently, and Wisconsin's been losing games in turn.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There are just certain players on this team that are not performing like they were before. And Wisconsin kind of had a lull against, who was it? Penn State earlier this year. And they were able to fight through and make that happen. And I said, after that game, this is the type of game that teams who win the Big Ten, this is the type of game they win, where they kind of have a stinker. They don't really play their best game, but they put it together and they get the win. Unfortunately, it's hard to do that. 5-6 games in a row. Like they put together bad games, and it's really, really hard to do that week in and week out in the Big Ten. Purdue, we just saw Purdue put together a bad game, and one of the worst teams in the Big Ten without their head coach took advantage of it. So like at the end of the day, I mean, it's just when you play enough bad games, you lose. And when you don't have the players playing up to their potential, up to their ability, that's what happens. So I think sometimes we try to make it more complicated than what it really is, which is just like sometimes guys that just aren't playing as good as they were earlier in the season. And I know that's simple, and I know that's like not what everybody wants to hear, but I think you're right, Brant. Like Max Klesman has just not been the same now as he was earlier in the year. So Kent, you have a fan, Erica, saying Kent is a Big Ten genius. So you might need to change that name from casual Big Ten to genius Big Ten.
I might have to do that. Might have to be expert Big Ten. That's definitely not somebody that I'm hanging out with this weekend too, for sure.
Gotcha.
That's not somebody I'm hanging out with inside the cabin right now. I did want to talk about Wisconsin though, man. Like
Go ahead.
Their schedule, like everyone's schedule in the Big Ten, right? When you start going on losing streaks like this, you are looking for a game to like get right. We talk about that all the time, right? And when they dropped a couple in a row, it was supposed to be Michigan, and then they lost it. And then it was at Rutgers. They kind of like, that's a tough game. And then it was Ohio State. And you even said this, JR, you were like, if you need a get right game, Ohio State is the team back when Holtman was still there. They won that one. But then you start looking and it's like, there's not any games that when you start getting on a slide like this, there's not enough teams where you can like just stack together a couple wins. You have to go out and take it. There's not like, okay, we're going to play a couple cupcakes in a row in this conference. It never happens. Everyone's ready to win, especially when you have to go on the road for half the games. And it's just, man, it's just tough it just feels like they got into the slide and they just can't get out of it at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing I was going to point out was like, listen to their point totals for the 4 games before their stretch. And I apologize. It wasn't Penn State. They lost that Penn State game. They beat Minnesota at Minnesota, which was like, wow, how were you able to do that when they played as bad as they did? But yeah, so against Iowa before, they scored 83. Iowa scored 72. They won that one. Then Nebraska, they scored 88. Had a bit of a drop. Ohio State 71. Northwestern 71. And they score 83 against Penn State and they lose. But like, you still have good offense. Just the defense let you down a little bit. Indiana 91. Minnesota, again, that game 61, but they still won. And Michigan State 81. This was their first game since Michigan State. They scored over 80 points. So, and even when they scored 86 in this one, they still lost because Iowa has some really freaking good offense, and Tony Perkins took over at the end to win that game for him. So, like, I don't know. I mean, they scored 56 against Rutgers.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Rutgers is really, really good defensively. It was at the rack. I get that, but like, if you want to win the Big Ten, you're not. You're not going to win it by scoring 56. So,
and by the way, that Minnesota game, if I'm remembering correctly, was the one where Hawkins intentionally missed the free throw and almost put back the game tying jumper there in the corner. So they barely won that game too. So I don't know, man. Like I said, just very difficult to figure out this team because they'll beat a team like Michigan State, like you just said, 81-66, and then they lose this one. It's like, man, I don't know what to tell you guys. Just play more consistent, maybe. That'd be helpful.
That's helpful for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Brant, I made the comment earlier this year that Wisconsin just hadn't played a whole bunch of good teams in a row. Yes, they played Marquette, Michigan State, Arizona earlier in the year, and they won 2 out of those 3. But they had not really played, a good stretch of quad 1 and quad 2 games. Even after that one, they played a quad 4 in Jacksonville State. And before that, they played a quad 4 in Western Illinois. This Nebraska game was a quad 1. Purdue, quad 1. Michigan was a quad 2. At Rutgers was a quad 2. Ohio State was a quad 2. And then at Iowa was a quad 1. Is this, I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, you just tell me what you think. Like, is this just what Wisconsin was and they were just kind of a product of a lucky schedule? Or like, are we just seeing that downslide and it's like they can get back to what they were?
I mean, I think this might have just been what they were from the beginning. You look at their team they have this year and the team they had last year. It's the exact same team plus AJ Storr. It's not that much different, and that team didn't even make the tournament. Um, I don't think this is a team that, and I said this on the show a few weeks ago, back when they were top 10. I said I don't think this is a top 10 team at all. And I mean, are they top 25? Maybe borderline fringe, maybe 25th. But that they're not one of those top tier teams.
Yeah. Can't you agree?
Yeah, I guess I have to. I just feel like I can't come on here in good faith and say that because I was gassing them up so much at the beginning of the season. And I guess I just was blinded by the teams that they were playing. But I still have to go back to Michigan State, though. Like, I still believe Michigan State's a pretty good team, and they beat them at both East Lansing and in Madison. So, I just don't understand how they did that. And then they're dropping some games to some of these lower teams. I can't put my finger on it. Like I said, it's tough to figure out for them. But yeah, I guess I do have to agree with him. Maybe this is what they've been the whole time, and they were a product of an easier schedule at the front end, and it's just coming back to bite them now.
Yeah. You have another fan in the chat, Courtney, saying yes, and then consistency is a key to a W. So either you have some real fans or some people just are reading your mind there, Kent. So
that's why I couldn't say what city I was in. I'm telling you, these people would come find me. They're on me, man.
All these fans. Check it out. 7 says Wisconsin is losing to Iowa. Was the event, or Wisconsin losing to Iowa was their event horizon? They're going into a black hole. Ooh, sounds bad. I don't want to go into a black hole. Wisconsin best win. Marquette is a rivalry game in Michigan State twice before Hall figured out we can play. Yes, Hall was obviously not playing his best game then, but he's turned it on since then. Hall, amazing player. We'll talk about him after the Illinois game. Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.